Ever wondered what happens when your HOA president decides your garage is her personal VIP parking spot? What if locking her luxury ride inside overnight suddenly made you the criminal in her twisted little drama? And how does one quiet guy who'd been silently taking her bullshit for months flip the script and send the whole neighborhood tyrant straight to felony court? I swear I almost laughed when I rolled up my driveway that Friday evening and saw it. Garage door stuck halfway open again, cheap builder special, and right there, tucked in like it paid rent, was Pamela Whitaker's champagne Lexus. Gleaming spotless, not a scratch. I'm Ryan Caldwell, 41, freshly divorced, finally bought my own slice of suburban heaven 6 months ago thinking I'd escape the drama. Wrong. Instead was Pam, our HOA president, the pastel cardigan queen who treated every cul-de-sac like her personal kingdom. She'd already nailed me twice for non-compliant garden gnome placement and aggressive mailbox flag angle. Yeah, real threats to society. I'd kept my mouth shut, paid the fines, smiled through the neighborhood gossip she started about me being that bitter divorcee who refuses community spirit. But this? Parking her $50,000 Egomobile in my garage while I was at work? That cross from petty to psychotic. I didn't storm over right away. First just gave her more ammo. Instead I stood there, took a slow breath and watched Dave across the street pretend to trim his already perfect hedges. You see her do this? Called casual as hell. He killed the mower, shrugged like it was nothing. Pam said you were out of town again. Something about hail damage risk. Community protection, you know? Community protection, right. Man who once wrote me up for leaving my trash can out 2 minutes past pickup. I walked inside, hit the manual override, and slid the deadbolt on the garage door from the inside so it couldn't be opened from outside. Then I taped a polite little note on the inside. Next time ask. Or don't. Packed my mountain bike, threw the bags in the truck, and headed out for a long weekend on the trails upstate. Radio loud, windows down, zero guilt. Let her sweat it out. 3 days later I rolled back smelling like pine and freedom. The second I hit the driveway I knew something was off. Neighbors on their porches, pretending to water flowers that didn't need watering. Garage door still locked. I popped it open, and there sat Pam's Lexus, windshield now sporting a fresh spiderweb crack, and the rear bumper sporting a nasty dent like someone had taken a baseball bat to it. I hadn't touched the damn thing. Before I could even process, a sheriff's cruiser eased up. Lights off but unmistakable. Deputy Morales stepped out, the guy who looked permanently tired of everyone's nonsense. Ryan Caldwell? I nodded. Got a complaint. Unlawfully detained her car, refused to release it, and caused damage. Wants charges for trespassing on her property, criminal damage, and, get this, unlawful restraint of a vehicle. I actually snorted. Unlawful restraint? Like I'd kidnapped a Lexus. Pam showed up 2 minutes later, all wide eyes and trembling voice. Ryan, I just assumed you were still away. The weather report said hail. I was protecting community assets. Community assets. My garage. Once lectured the entire block that rules protect us all. I pulled out my phone, showed Morales the hiking app GPS logs, timestamped gas receipts, even a selfie at the summit with date stamp. Then I invited him inside and rolled the security footage from the indoor cam I'd installed after her last anonymous complaint about my yard. 3 days of nothing. No one entered. Just darkness and silence. Pam's face went the color of cheap lipstick. That camera must be malfunctioning, she sputtered. Or maybe he doctored it. Morales didn't laugh, but his tone said everything. Ma'am, this looks pretty clear. Happened if nobody touched it. She started backpedaling about unknown vandals while I just stood there, arms crossed, letting the silence do the heavy lifting. The next morning the certified letter arrived. HOA stationery, all caps. $300 fine for unauthorized obstruction of vehicular access, and an emergency board meeting at her house to discuss revoking my pool and clubhouse privileges. I almost felt bad for her. The afternoon buried in county records, bylaws, state property law. Even a quick call to my cousin the paralegal. Turns out nowhere in the 100-page HOA Bible did it say the president could treat private garages like public parking. That night her living room was packed. Pam stood at the front like a suburban Supreme Court justice, terriers yapping at her feet. "We're here to address Mr. Caldwell's dangerous and obstructive behavior," she announced, voice dripping honey. "He locked my vehicle inside his garage, caused damage, and created distress for the entire community." I waited until she finished her little speech, then raised my hand like a good boy. "Point of order, Pam. Is to be in my garage in the first place. That's trespassing." Sat untouched for 72 hours. "Which means either you're lying about the damage or something happened after I returned. Either way, not my problem." A few neighbors shifted uncomfortably. Dave in the back actually nodded. I also spoke with Deputy Morales. He's reviewing everything. "And I'd advise the board to check the bylaws before you vote on sanctions. No 24-hour notice. And you can't slap fines without 5 days written warning. Oh, and if you keep filing false reports with the sheriff, I'll be adding defamation and harassment to the list." Pam's smile cracked like cheap porcelain. "The spirit of the rules. The letter of the rules is what matters." I cut in, sliding copies across the coffee table. "And right now the letter says you owe me an apology and my garage back." One of the younger board members, Jen, actually started reading the pages. Ron, the retired postal guy, whistled low. "She's right, Pam. And talk to a lawyer." The room went dead quiet. Pam's hand shook around her clipboard. I stood up, smiled the sweetest smile I could manage. "Next time you're worried about hail, Pam, try a car cover. Or better yet, your own damn garage." I walked out to the sound of 20 pairs of eyes burning holes in my back. The next morning a plain envelope appeared on my doorstep. No signature. Resolved. No further action. No apology. Just surrender wrapped in corporate speak. I tossed it in the recycling and figured that was the end. But Pam Whitaker wasn't done being Pam Whitaker. 3 days later my cousin called. "Ryan, you sitting down? I was poking around county filings for fun. Guess whose name popped up on a fraudulent lien against your house?" I froze, coffee halfway to my lips. Pam had filed paperwork claiming I was 6 months behind on HOA dues. Funny thing, I'd only lived here 6 months and every payment was time-stamped and receipted. She'd even signed it herself as treasurer. She wasn't the treasurer. That was a separate elected position she'd conveniently ignored. "That's not a mistake," my cousin said. "That's felony-level forgery." I drove straight to the county clerk's office. The lady behind the counter took one look at the filing and shook her head. "No hearing notice, no verification, no legitimate treasurer signature. This is getting flagged for fraud today." I walked out lighter than I'd felt in months. But I wasn't finished. I started digging deeper. Old reimbursement forms, meeting minutes, bank statements neighbors quietly slipped me after the board meeting. Turns out Pam had been submitting community improvement receipts for things that never existed. New patio furniture on her own deck. A gas grill that somehow improved neighborhood morale. Even a $1,200 team building retreat that turned out to be a spa weekend 2 towns over. Ron met me on his porch the next evening, voice low. "I noticed the patio set last summer. Never saw any bids or board approval. And those proxy votes she's been using? Half the signatures look forged." That was all I needed. I compiled everything: payment records, the fake lien, the forged proxies, the shell company Civic Solutions LLC she created to launder HOA funds back into her own pocket. 16 grand and counting. I walked the packet into the sheriff's office and handed it to Morales personally. His face got darker with every page. "She signed this as treasurer? And the LLC?" He looked up. "This is going to the DA. Wire fraud, identity theft, and straight-up embezzlement." By Saturday, the county investigators showed up at Pam's door with 2 deputies. I watched from my front step as she tried the wide-eyed innocent act one last time. When they handed her the summons, she finally dropped the mask. Face twisted, voice cracking, terriers barking like the world was ending. Ron strolled over minutes later. She's under investigation. Reimbursements. That new grill? Paid with our dues. The lien's been voided. Yet resignation. The special vote happened 3 days later. 31 out of 37 homes voted her out. Not a single defender left standing. The full audit came next. 1,000 in the last 2 years alone. Fake security upgrades, ghost event decorations, even a senior tax exemption she'd fraudulently filed using doctored birth records. The district attorney moved fast. Subpoenas, frozen accounts, the whole 9 yards. When the trial rolled around, I took the stand as lead witness. The prosecutor asked one simple question. What did you do when you found the defendant's car in your garage? I shrugged. I locked the door and went mountain biking. The whole courtroom lost it. Even the judge grinned. Guilty on all counts: wire fraud, forgery, embezzlement, tax evasion, official misconduct. 6 years state prison, parole after 4. Her Lexus, her house equity, everything seized to repay the neighborhood. The new board, Jen as president, passed real reforms. Term limits, public budgets, no more solo reimbursements. Fines got refunded. People started waving again instead of spying. A week after sentencing, Dave showed up with a 6-pack. Figured I owed you one for not speaking up sooner. We sat on the porch watching the sun set over a cul-de-sac that finally felt like a neighborhood instead of a police state. He laughed. Your car in there, and bounced? I clinked my bottle to his. Best weekend of my life. The last laugh came when the county revealed Pam had been quietly advising 3 other HOAs on the exact same scam. Her little clipboard empire had been a franchise. Investigators from 2 neighboring towns were already knocking. Turns out locking one garage door had cracked open a whole network of suburban grift. So here's the lazy truth nobody wants to hear. The next time your HOA Karen crosses the line, don't scream, don't explode, don't even raise your voice. Just document everything, lock the damn door, and let the paper trail do the heavy lifting. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, patient, and ends with a clipboard queen in handcuffs while the whole neighborhood finally breathes free.